Hello everybody, it's David here with another DIY. We're going to start off with this Dollar Tree DIY. So you're going to need 5 of these 12-inch dowels, and then I picked up one of these floral rattan wreaths. I don't think it's actually a rattan, but we're just going to call it rattan. Anyways, we're going to soak it in some warm water. Make sure that it's fully saturated. So you could probably put something heavy on top. So after your piece has kind of soaked for a bit, then we're going to start to slowly break this apart. I've had it soaking for about an hour now. It's nice and drenched, and you can see that the pieces are bendable now, but I want to be careful not to break anything. I'm going to slowly start to take this apart. So now I have to try and find where the end piece is, which I believe is right here, where it's like brown. So I have to like pry this apart very carefully. It's not going to be the easiest thing, but once I get it apart, so you guys can see I found one of the ends and I'm just basically undoing it by taking the piece and pulling it through like that. And it'll just start to release other pieces. So you can slowly pry this whole entire thing apart, and then once we're done, we'll just kind of soak it back into the water. So it should look something like this. We want it still in the water so that it's still able to bend. If you take it out, it's going to start to dry out, and if you try and bend it, it will break. While our wreath form is still soaking in the water, I'm going to go ahead and get the base of the tree ready. I'm going to be using 5 of these 12-inch dowels. Got my extra stick just in case. To assemble my base, I want 5 of them going up to each other, and you could get away with using 3 of them like this, making a little pyramid, but I am going to be using 5 of them like this. I'm going to start by gluing 2 of them together about this far apart. So really I just need to put glue on this side, attach my stick, if you wanted to glue this down on maybe some cardboard or something that is similar in color, just to make the base stand out a little bit. But I'm not worried about the top of it looking like this. The Dollar Tree has these gold stars, and you could use the back of it. If you wanted to do that on the top, that's optional, but I'm going to go ahead and get my wreath form, but you can see everything has held together with the glue. Alright, I got my pieces here ready to go. Now they are wet, so I want to be careful with getting a lot of water and stuff on the hot glue. I'm gonna just start with a random piece. I'm gonna try and put my thicker pieces down towards the bottom, but you can see this is super bendy. And give it a nice bend before we start. Trying not to like break this in half. We'll start down here and kind of wedge this in there, and then we'll weave this in and out. And that's why it's important to have an odd number of sticks, because of the weaving process. We're going in and around these pieces, trying to get this as flat as possible when I pull it inside of there. So we're basically just doing like this star shape around. That's what we're weaving in and around these pieces. Once you guys get going, you'll start to be able to see what the design is on the outside, and yeah, just keep on going. You could sit and watch a movie while you do this, or your favorite TV show. But as you're going, you don't want to pull super tight where you start to bend the actual thing inwards. We want to like make sure we have an appropriate amount of pull as we're going. And typically if you're going like pretty slow, you want this to be soaking in water, because this will start to dry out and it'll start to break if you don't have it wet. Okay, now that we're you can see the really pretty texture that it's leaving right here. Now that should just tuck right in there like that. I'm going to push it down in further. Look at that, it's so pretty. Okay, then we'll just move on to another piece. And how I'm gonna just push it in. We want to continue with our pattern, so, but I also want to make sure this piece is secure. So I'm pushing it in like this. So I just pushed it under that piece to follow this, and now it's coming out of here, and we can continue with the pattern. So I need to go under here. Like that, and then just keep going. It's gonna be a little bit thinner because I'm using a thinner piece that I picked up. Most of these pieces will go from thin to thick. Not that I'm a professional basket weaver, but I did take a course in high school. Oh. All right, we are approaching the end of our tree. So the end piece, I'm gonna just push it in. Okay, there we go. I just needed it to latch onto something in there. No, I'm pushing all of this down as tight as I can, just so everything really stays in place. I still have a little bit. You can always leave this like that. I think I'm gonna go ahead and try and use my last couple pieces I have. Okay, so there's that little piece that's poking out. I'm just gonna take this and, oh, okay then. Carefully just stretch these pieces over right next to the post, and then slowly move it to the edge. I'm trying to be really, really careful. This is just hoping that the thing won't slide off or anything. I'm doing that on the inside so you don't see it on the outside. All right, so this is our little bamboo rustic tree, and you could totally stain this. And again, you can add these cute little stars at the top if you wanted to do that. I wonder if, you could just do a little wooden. So I'm just gonna do it like that. Take our little piece of twine. And as I'm wrapping, I'm making sure I tuck in those in pieces. I'm just doing this enough so you don't see the little top piece. And then we have these little holes on the bead, so we could even string this and hang it up. Because this is super lightweight. If you wanted to hang it, you totally could. I think it's adorable as it is. So this can just sit on the tabletop like that. What are you doing? Coronavirus! All right, moving on to project number 2. I am going to be making one of these little crates out of popsicle sticks. But I am showing you the one from Dollar Tree. You can always just buy one, but in case you have some popsicle sticks on hand, go ahead and grab those so we can make our own. Got these from Dollar Tree. I'll be using the smaller ones. The other pack in my right hand, right here with the red label, I actually got that one from Menards. It was also $1. I'm also using these leftover pieces I had from a different wooden thing I had got from Dollar Tree. I made a while back. I took the pieces off, so yeah, I'm using these for this crate. And you can also use these paint stir sticks. I also got those from Menards, a pack of 10 for $1. Alright, let's get started. So I'm going to be using these two pieces as like the little handles on the sides of the crate. And then I'm going to be just like measuring how wide I want the crate to be. So this seems a bit too short, so I end up using the longer pieces. These are the ones from Menards. And I thought that it looked a bit appropriate for the dimensions and everything. So I also want to make the crate taller. So I'm going to be using the smaller pieces and cutting the round sides off. And that will kind of complete the tallness of the crate. I hope I'm making sense. So I just begin by taking the popsicle sticks and I'm just cutting off the round part of the popsicle stick so that it's flat. And then I'm going to measure it on this piece here. I want it to be the same length. I end up cutting about 3 per side. And once I was done, I took the bigger popsicle sticks, and these are about 1 inch wide, and I cut the ends off of those. I did about 4, I want to say, for each side, and then I had to make the bottom portion, which I cut an additional 4. To start assembling, I just used some hot glue, and I glue one of the larger pieces to one of the sides of the little like handle piece, the leftover wood piece that I'm using as a handle. And once that's dry, then you glue on another piece on the other side. And as you can see exactly kind of where I'm gluing it, I think that's important. I'm gluing it on the sides of the handles. And then I glue on the other side, and you can see I still have like 1/2 inch left over where my finger's kind of sitting on that handle piece. That's where I'm going to be gluing another long piece. So technically I've only glued half of that piece on, so I'll have another piece hanging off, which is what you want so that we're able to attach the sides onto that piece. So I just continued alternating gluing the pieces together like this. Once the majority of the crate is done, I'm going to be putting in the bottom using the same 1 inch popsicle sticks. So again, I'm just kind of measuring and cutting off the ends. And then I'm gluing them down. And this is the finished little crate. You could totally stop here, or you could go ahead and make up a stain and stain this, which is what I did. I used a water-based stain, so I'm just using some of this orange, like a dark orange paint, just a little bit. And then I mixed in black, just a squirt. Then I mixed those together and then added some water. Then I just went ahead and started painting this mixture right onto the little popsicle stick slash crate. As you can see, as I'm painting it on, it's starting to soak in pretty well. So I just kept going back and forth with the brush, trying to get every little area. And once this dries, it's this really beautiful stain. It's like this very nice ashy brown. I like this color so much. And again, that was mixing orange and black together. Mainly orange, a little bit of black. The black can really dull it down to this really pretty brown. And I had a lot left over, so after I was done with this piece, I decided to go ahead and stain the other crate that I got from Dollar Tree. So I ended up making a different crate, and I'm just showing you guys you could always do this before you glue everything together. It's totally optional. What I'm showing right here is just I used that leftover stain and I went ahead and went through and did all my sticks. I probably would recommend cutting them and then using the stain, and then you can glue them together. I'm not going to show you this, the end of the crate. I'm just showing you like you can stain the sticks prior to gluing them together. Alright, we're moving on to this little bundle of joy. It's just a little, I guess, stick with a bunch of things glued to it from Dollar Tree. And I went ahead and gave it a little makeover by spray painting it with this Dollar Tree white spray paint. I just did a couple coats, very light coats on one side, flipped it over, did the other, let it dry, and then I went back in and did my second coat. So then I went ahead and did the same thing with these trees. I picked these up from Hobby Lobby. I thought they were a bit too green, so I just took them and spray painted them white. So I laid them down flat and just put this spray paint kind of directly in there. I was trying super hard not to get the wood base because I really like the wood color. So I just kind of lightly spritzed the spray paint right in there and turned the tree every so often. And these are how they turned out. I just wanted to quickly share that with you guys so you can see, you can give like things a little bit of a makeover. For this project, I picked these up from Hobby Lobby. This was one of the cardboard trees I got, and then I picked up this fuzzy yarn. This was also on sale, both of them were. So this was nice. I really liked this specific yarn, not only for the color and the texture, but it had this side of it that was flat, that I thought would be perfect for just putting the glue straight onto the flat side and then gluing this yarn down. So this was pretty simple to work with. You guys can imagine what I'm doing here is just hot gluing the yarn down to the cardboard piece, just wrapping it around it. So once I got the top started, I just would wrap like maybe 2 times around, put a dab of hot glue, and wrap the yarn into that hot glue, and I just kept going. So I didn't like use a lot of hot glue, and I didn't sit there and glue the whole strand down, if that makes sense. Once I was done with that part, I went through and I kind of put a little bit of hot glue in between some of the areas, because when you push down on it, it would kind of shift around. So I just kind of used my finger to push in areas to see where it was shifting around, put some hot glue, shove the yarn in there, and then move on. And then I was left with this bottom base right here that was exposed. You could always leave it, or you could always put some more of your yarn if you have left over. I decided to use this ribbon. It was 75 cents at Walmart. Just wrapped it like 3 times around this just to give it a different texture on the bottom so it looked more flat, I guess. And then you could always stop here, but I wanted to add some lights onto this tree. So I took Dollar Tree lights. They have a green, red, and clear, I believe, in their Christmas section. And I just took the lights, put the batteries in, and wrapped the lights around the tree. It was that simple. Here is a fun, simple project. I took a Dollar Tree candy cane and some fabric I got from Hobby Lobby. I used this vintage looking fabric because of how I wanted my candy cane to look. You could use a variety of different striped fabric. You don't have to use red and white. Now what I'm doing is just cutting this into strips. As you can see when I start cutting, I'm cutting in between the red stripes where the white is. making sure that's pretty even on both sides of like the white. I repeated this step 4 more times, just cutting 4 strips out. You can cut however many you might need to cover this candy cane. So to attach this to the candy cane, I hot glued one end starting like this. That way it would start to wrap around in the same type of pattern with the red and white swirl looking pattern that the candy cane gives off. So I just took a little bit of hot glue and glued it down here in the middle, and I put that right on the tip of the candy cane. Then I put some hot glue on either side of the fabrics to glue those down in place. So once the fabric was pretty secured, I started to take it like this and I wrapped it around the candy cane. I made sure I covered up those flaps. And I just tried to line up where the white would be overlapping. So you saw like red, white, red, white. And it doesn't look like your traditional like candy cane, but I kind of like it like this. It just gives that vintage vibe in my opinion. So just glue the end off, and then you can put the glue straight over top of the left where you left off and put your next piece of fabric right in line with it, so you can continue your pattern of that like swirl pattern. You know what I'm saying? You guys see what I'm doing. So but yeah, I just kept doing that, overlapping the fabric so it would hold the whole thing down. So that way I didn't use a bunch of glue. I just used the hot glue at the beginning and the end of the fabric. And that little green tag on that candy cane, I end up just leaving that on and just wrapping my fabric straight over it. You don't even see it. And this is such an easy way just to update your plastic candy canes so they look like they're fabric. You can also add in stuffing around the plastic to make this like cushiony if you wanted to.